The way this place is set up makes it possible for any viewpoint to be rationalized, to be acceptable. You can justify any viewpoint, any and all, and I mean any. That's why there's such a sort of tension going on, because fundamentally opposing viewpoints are having to coexist side by side simultaneously, and that creates a tension. Are you paying attention to the tension? And tension's not bad. Tension's good. Like in chess, keeping the tension is known as a tactic. Whoever breaks the tension first, unless they are fully aware of what they're doing, whoever breaks the tension first is likely to end up with the worst position in chess. Same thing as that other saying in chess, that the threat is stronger than the execution. So, being that the realm is what it is, which is, it's an infinite, co-created, moment-to-moment collapsing of the quantum waveform into appearingly or seemingly solid form that on closer investigation doesn't even exist as far as a something. The problem is we're living in that, and we're calling that normal life, or mentally we have accepted that that's normal life, and it's not normal life. It's not anything. It's nothing at all. You have to investigate into it first before you can start calling it something. And if you investigate for just a day or two, then you'll find immediately that it has nothing to do with anything called normal life. It's a bunch of small critters added up together into what's called a human body, and once you look into the quantum aspect of it, then things start getting really crazy and popping in and out of existence and all that stuff. So I can understand why there's a big barrier between being a normie and allowing in the first allowing the first piece of yarn to be pulled out of your ball of yarn that will start unraveling it. There's the massive divide between those two spots, which is why it's very difficult for people to so-called wake up. And not only that, but the waking up process is incredibly painful, especially at first. So you're telling someone that basically you're going to destroy their entire reality bit by bit, and it's going to be the most painful thing that they've ever experienced. And but at the end, it's going to be worth it, I promise. That's the rationalization for it, and most people don't buy that. They can't. Calling you a Looney Tune or something, calling you a kook is simply 100% logical for those people. It's just a defense mechanism. They're defending their reality. Now, if you have been brave and allowed that first piece of string to be pulled off of your ball of yarn, then you see the facade for what it is. And of course, there are a bunch of grieving stages for all of these identities that you've built up, for the self-construct that you've built for your entire life. There's a lot of pain and suffering from letting go of that. But after, I don't know about after, because I don't know if the process ever fully ends, but after you've been doing it for a long time, then there isn't any more pain and trauma connected with losing those identities, or with 5 or 10 ego deaths just stringed up on a line. There's not as much trauma connected with it anymore. You're simply able to be present, and you don't lose. The thing about going through stages is you're not losing any of those things. It's not, I think people have a misconception sometimes that when you upgrade yourself, or when you hop up a level, that somehow the lower level is gone. It's not like that. Like, you have everything that you had to start with, and you also have a new awareness with which to move inside of, along with those things that you had to start with. So it's good. It's scary and painful at first, but that only lasts, it's a finite period of time. That doesn't last forever. And once you've pulled the first bit of string, like, you can't even go back after a certain point. There isn't, since the base reality that we're living here is, it's a bunch of I don't like saying it's all lies, because I just don't like that sort of language. It's kind of harsh language, but it's all play. Like, to me, that's much more, it's more understanding of the people who are in the play, because to sit there and lambaste people for considering themselves to be a very, very normal person, going about business and being respectable and getting work done, going to school, going to college, graduating, like all of these normal life things, I don't get joy from like casting doubt on that whole construct. There isn't a problem with that. If you're doing that, then fine. There's a spot for everybody. If your spot was to be, you need to awaken, you need to find out what are the deceptions, and see through them, and move around them, and transcend them, all this stuff. And that's what you're doing, and that's allowed. That is allowed simultaneously with the people who are doing normie stuff. It's all allowed. And it's allowed with the people doing covert ops and using this machine to peer far into the future and far into the past, and try and figure this and that and the other thing out. All of this stuff, the secret projects, the stuff Og talks about, every single possibility from a conscious standpoint is allowed. It's not, and there is the reciprocity is built in. Like, yes, we have a court system here, but that's a part of the fraudulent financial system, and it has very little to do with the judgment. Stuff is built into your mind, and it's built into the realm itself. You self-judge based on your own unique subjective value system, because that's the only way it could happen, right? There are some countries where it's okay to do things which is not okay to do here. That is relative. End of story. So you judge yourself when you die, even day to day, as you're reviewing your day and what you're doing and how you're treating people. If you're doing that, you're judging yourself. You're applying what you know to be correct or right, morally, internally, and you're comparing that with how you're behaving. And of course, you judge everyone else based on your subjective moral standards, which of course isn't necessarily that correct, but that's also not an easy thing when you have so many different ideologies, mindsets, things running around. There's just so much stuff happening all at once, and it all happens at once because it's all in the present moment. Like, look at it, nothing else is happening anywhere else. There's just cars running by in my present moment. I'm sitting here talking, waving hands and whatnot, and then it all flies off into the subjective realms a split second after it's happening. That's why we, as a human populace, when we're sitting here talking about truth, it is a tremendous joke. That's all I can say. Is it's just a big joke. The truth thing, as far as like what happened in history and all that, you can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. Okay, like this stuff is translating into mental tracers, which we call memories, which we don't even have a very good grasp on, but we're gonna sit here and talk about truth. It's just bullshit. It's complete nonsense. But you can do that if you want to. There are people who believe that stuff, and it acts as a basis for their conceived reality. And I have to accept that as well. Like, so the people are doing that. Okay, fine. Everybody can do what they want. You know? I try to treat people decently and use that as sort of a baseline. I like the Jesus thing that says treat others as you would like to be treated. But aside from that, you know, like everybody has personal standards, and every one of us who has personal standards breaks those personal standards. Like we have this middle point of what we think we ought to be doing, and then every time we're veering outside of that, then we rationalize, or else we make promises about how we're going to do better next time. I don't know what this video was about. I wasn't no topic, but sometimes I ramble. Anyway, gotta go. Take care, guys. Bye.